So it's time to leave the waking world behind and enter the nightmare realm of Fatal Frame 3 yet again.
Save the two.
So we find ourselves back in control of Miku, where we last left her. In this strange altar room, I suppose? Already we see that something is causing our camera to react, and it's what appears to be flayed skin. That does give us a musty picture to develop when we get out of the dream. But for right now, we don't really have a clear idea of what we need to do. We do see a figure up there in the hanging prison cell, but if we investigate the altar here, we do see that there seems to be a place for 4 items. And these 4 items are going to be our primary objective in this hour. Though we don't really have a clear idea of where we need to go. Well, we have pretty much reached a dead end here, so we are going to go ahead and leave. But first, I want to take another quick look at this human skin that's enshrined here. The one thing that really draws my eye is the fact that the human skin is tattooed with a somewhat familiar tattoo that I think is on Rei. Probably grim omens for the future, but we'll worry about that when we get to it. For right now, we're going to go ahead and leave, but before we do that, there is one hidden ghost in here on New Game Plus, next to the hanging cell up here. And I think it's that young shrine maiden that has been pleading to us and leading us around. I think we'll actually be learning a little bit more about her as we continue through this update. Kind of hard to make out what was being said in that whispering, but really makes me wonder what was going on behind those blinds. I can definitely see there's an item waiting for us, so kind of assume that at some point we will be able to get in there, but just so many mysteries layering and layering upon each other. So as we pick up this item here, you can probably hear something softly playing in the background along with a very familiar hammering noise. It seems that lullaby is wafting in through that shutter that we've noticed before, but haven't really had a chance to investigate because it has been shut off to us. But considering we are playing a much smaller character, and that the shutter is now open, even though
Over here.
it seems like a massively bad idea. I guess we're just gonna have to press on inside this little area. And inside we find ourselves in a brand new situation in Fatal Frame 3, which is tank controls. Yeah, it's not something we're going to have to deal with very often, and it's kind of cumbersome, but we are rewarded for coming down in this little crawl space area, and that is we get a very important upgrade for Miku's camera. Now, the double function is extremely powerful and will allow Miku, if she can fully charge it up, to do pretty much double damage with every shot she does. We'll be seeing that in just a little bit and get a better visual explanation then, but I really want to get out of here. It's very claustrophobic. And we want to run. Because wouldn't you know, what's the best place to get into a ghost encounter with a very, very fast specter than in a very, very confined space? Say hello to the crawling woman. We get a musty picture for defeating her. And we defeated her quite easily, mostly due to our double feature. It's not to say it will be easier in the future, but, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For right now, I do want to go ahead and get the hell out of here because tight corridors. Good thing is, there's a little hatch right here where we can go ahead and escape from. Yeah, through that tiny hatch, we find ourselves in what seems to be a familiar room, but it's really a brand new area. It's another altar room. This time, though, we see something new catching our eye, which is a beautiful jewel. Along with that jewel, we do find a new diary. And though it isn't very clear, I assume this is from one of those little shrine maidens. Talks about how Amane led a man into the shrine, and it led to her being impaled. And that this man she led in was her brother, and yeah, we're going to be getting a lot of backstory about that in this update. Along with plenty of fights with these young shrine maidens, but does it give us a lot of opportunities for some extra points, and lots of opportunities to show off that new double addition. So the basic idea is that as you start to get a charge, if you then hold down the fire button, you can charge up to where you set up your focus. And the good thing is, if you do get a fatal frame, every subsequent shot with the double will get you the same amount of power, so you can just keep on getting double power for each subsequent fatal frame. Yet again, this makes Miku pretty much the most powerful character in the game. She just lacks a bit of versatility, I suppose, without all those power lenses, but as we continue making our way through all these different crawl spaces, I can hear something setting off my camera. And there is an easily missed hidden ghost down here. I think it's a little bit forward. There we go. Granted, that is a pretty ghastly figure, but I think after that crawling woman, we'll be kind of hard-pressed to get even more spooked than we already are. But that isn't to say that the game won't be trying its hardest to still scare us. Now, in this brand new room, see a large set of Buddhas here with a bloody mess underneath it. Also, we've seen this room before from up in that peephole there, but we're going to go ahead and take a picture of whatever this distortion is. And it gives us another musty film to develop. Yeah, it does make you wonder what was going on in here with all these hung figures and bloody messes. But if you investigate this tiny altar, it does add a little bit more to the journal. I will go ahead and post that in the thread. Just a few people have stated interest, so I might as well go ahead and post that. But, well, in case you were wondering, these are actually wooden figures and not real human bodies, which is good. But I think we've gotten enough of this room, so let's go on and press forward. Into danger. Yeah, say hello to the engraver. We've heard about this person mentioned beforehand. She was a part of the tattooing ritual. She was struck blind to make her see the eternal dream of the priestess, and she also had her hands cut off and replaced with tattooing needles. Overall, though, she isn't a difficult enemy. She does teleport around a bit, but her AI is pretty simple and will just pretty much rush straight at you. She has one kind of nasty attack, which we will probably see later, but, well, for right now, go ahead and leave this room and find out that we are in a somewhat familiar area. Now, from this angle, it may not seem apparent right off the bat, but this was one of those hallways we saw in Ray's daydream at the start. And as we head further down, we'll see that snowy hole where we took that hidden ghost photo before, and we'll be able to tell just where we are. Still, though, we do need to find another 3 stones. We do at least know where one other of those altar rooms are. And we do have a vague idea where the other one might be, so after getting this herbal medicine, I guess the next place we're going to go is to the garden corridor. That large tree and the skewered doll. In the kimono room, though, we do find a new item waiting on this broken mirror stand. And it's another diary entry from the woman brushing her hair. Seems that she had given birth to what is called a forbidden child. I guess a male child is not one that was so much wanted in the shrine. And she did leave a gift for the child in that she gave him a name and an earring that belonged to, I guess, his father. And, well, the child was mostly kept a secret, especially considering that if the secret wasn't kept, the child would have been killed. And that will be important for later, so it is good to keep that earring in mind and all that. And already we can hear that same lullaby and hammering noise, along with, yep, another impaled doll. Let's see where this one's going to lead us. Yeah, pretty inconveniently, it's right above that ceremony room that we were just in. But considering the angle that was taken from, that means we're going to have to head back up through the rafters and up to that peephole. Before I do that, though, we did get a film reel up in that room before in the previous update, so I figured since we are so close to the projector room, we might as well go ahead and take a quick look at that. I think that piece of film was called Commandment. Also, either way, while we're down here, we can refill on a little bit more Type 14 film. So, let's go ahead and watch a movie. Or get interrupted. Yeah, that we start to notice more and more of these random encounters, and depending on where we are in the manor will definitely affect which enemies we get. But let's go ahead and replay this movie, hopefully without interruption. Lots of reoccurring imagery of hammering and the engravers, and some room we still haven't seen yet, but it does seem like there were a few new snippets in there. But it's still an incredibly odd design choice, I suppose, to force the player yet again to go slowly across this rafter section. I would say if in the previous chapter it was entirely optional to have to do this, but it was required to finish that chapter, and for some reason they make us backtrack through this incredibly slow section again. And normally I would cut this out.
Here, forever.
We do get a little creepy word. Though I really don't have any inclination to stay here forever. I suppose the good news is that we don't have to solve any puzzles or do anything too strenuous.
Not enough blood. Need more blood.
Though I don't recall that figure being there before. Either way, we now have a new unlocked door to go investigate, so we're just going to make a quick trip back there. And when I say quick, I mean incredibly slowly across the rafters. Though we do get a little visit from another shrine maiden here. I I will say it is nice with all these encounters with the Shrine Maidens that we do get a better look at some of them and see that there are, I think, up to 3 different models. Gives a little bit more personality to each one of these enemies, and it does fit well into the story, as we'll be seeing later on that I think all total there were about 4 of these little Shrine Maidens. Also, since I'm not cruel, no more rafters. But another altar room means another new gem. And we also get another brand new diary. This one seems to be another Shrine Maiden, though this one seems to be a little bit more blunt about the punishment that Amane was going to have to deal with. Impalement. And from what we've seen so far of some of these Shrine Maidens, they don't have any qualms about coming at you with a stake and hammer. But while we are down here, we might as well go ahead and head over to that other altar room, which, amazingly enough, is entirely unlocked, and, well, we could have gone to it at any point, but just trying to streamline this as much as possible. And I do like that the game tries in many ways to direct you around. I mean, those little visions that we see before entering every dream are giving us hints, and the lullaby and hammering noises are good audio hints as just where you need to go. And we get another stone, though sadly this time around we don't get any new diary entries, but that does leave one more stone. No idea though initially where we might need to go, but if you remember back a couple of updates, Ray did manage to find herself in a tiny dead-end hallway. Yeah, right off of the stained corridor here. Yet again, even though this seems like a massively bad idea, we're really just left with no other choice. Yeah, things are looking pretty fine down here. But we do get another visit from the crawling woman. The good news is that I have been saving up a pretty steady store for our slowdown. Now, it may not seem immediately apparent, mostly due to our using of the slow ability, but the crawling woman is extremely fast, and her fatal frame and shutter chances are very, very small, and normally she chooses to get right up in your face, pretty much breaking line of sight with you and your camera, and yeah, your first time through, you're probably going to have a lot of trouble with the crawling woman. But for our troubles, Miku does get a stone mirror. Also, I do apologize, the controls in these crawling sections are pretty abhorrent. Like, she doesn't have a quick turn, she mostly just has a running forward, and, well, the good news is we won't be seeing one of these, I think, for the rest of the game. But we do find ourselves in the final little altar room. And along with the final gem, or stone, we do find another new diary entry. And this one is probably one of the more informative ones, as it is from the viewpoint of Anami, and talks about her brother Kanami, which I'm probably mispronouncing, and I do apologize, but she goes in a little bit about the earring that the brother had from her mother, the brushing hair woman. Also, it gives the name of a priestess named Reika, who is probably the priestess that would have to suffer through that eternal dream and tattooing and all that horrible ritual nonsense. So, really, we just get a lot of important names here. And it gives us possibly a very clear picture of just what might have gone wrong with the ritual. We get a young man brought into a forbidden area by his, well, I think it's his half-sister, but yeah, just a lot of twistiness and, well, just some revelations there in the plot, but we'll go a little bit more into that as we progress through the game. For right now, we're going to go ahead and use those 4 stones, even though first we have to figure out just where we are in the manor. The good news is that this area is very unique. Yeah, we went here in the previous update with Ray. And that is actually good news because that altar room is somewhat close by. So it should be clear sailing from here on out. Though that is not entirely true, as it seems that the shrine maidens aren't entirely happy about our gathering of the stones. And we are given what is possibly one of the more difficult early game encounters, though it is entirely dependent on what the AI chooses to do here. About the best advice I can give is to try to lure one of the shrine maidens into doing her hammering the feet attack, so that you can hopefully get a clear shot in on another one coming in for a lunging attack. And hopefully you've been practicing using that double technique, because it can save you a lot of time and a lot of film. Though it can be a bit difficult, as holding down the attack button and moving while in the camera view is troublesome to say the least. Turning, pretty easy. Moving, not so much. I'm just gonna wait for her to come in for the lunge. And we've gotten plenty of points, struck a mighty victory, and now we can go reap our rewards back in that altar room. Also, as we have progressed through the game, it is nice to see a lot of the Manor of Sleep coming together, at least in a somewhat coherent imaginative fashion, I suppose. It does make you kind of wonder what were behind some of the doors that were leading into areas from Fatal Frame 1 and 2. I definitely don't assume that those areas were already on the Kuze Shrine. But it just goes to show that they never really dropped that dreamlike atmosphere. Also, you don't want to rush too quickly down the stairs.
Sacrifice the money and the forbidden child. Both must be banished. Amani's older brother. Both of them.
And that whispering was a lot clearer this time around. Talks about Amani and her brother and the punishment that both of them are going to have to deal with. But with these 4 indentations, we do run into pretty much the first puzzle of this particular update. And that is the fact that we need to make the handmaiden song to subdue the priestess. Now, each one of these 4 stones has a different song phrase or song line that goes along with it.
Sleep, priestess, lie in peace.
And even though we haven't been given the song itself, you can pretty much trial and error into making this into some...
If the priestess wakes from her dream.
I guess making it into some somewhat coherent song.
Perform the rite of stakes, her limbs pinned tight.
Though the song slowly gets darker and darker the further you get along.
Sleep, priestess, lie in peace. Sleep, priestess, lie in peace. If the priestess wakes from her dream, perform the rite of stakes, her limbs pinned tight. Lest the doors open wide and suffering unleashed on all.
But for our efforts, that song has caused the cell above our heads to raise up to an upper level. And even though we didn't know that the mechanism would be doing that, that is beneficial, as there is a doorway up on that upper level, I think in the kimono room. It means we can press further into the manor of sleep. Before we head up there, though, there's another diary entry waiting here. And it's another diary entry from Amane. Just goes into a little bit more about how her half-brother snuck in with all the covered-faced people that were coming in for the ritual. And how she pretty much knew that the mistress, or the head of the household, would not be happy in the least. With all that out of the way, I guess there's nothing really left for us else to do except head up to that new area.
Amane, you violated the commandments.
Though we are going to have to deal with a ghastly mini-boss here. Yeah, we saw this ghost the first time back in Kay's first update. And though he could not fight her, we do have the ability to do so now. And this is actually the head of the Kuze Shrine. We heard her talk about Amane before and the punishment she would have to deal with. But now she is some multi-armed specter of destruction that wants to strangle us. And she does have an interesting attack, to say the least. As you can tell, our vision is now obscured by her handprints. And even though she isn't the most dangerous enemy in the game, especially with her small shutter chance, she is still somewhat formidable, mostly due to her large amount of health. Overall, though, you just have to wait for her to send out her arms and hope that maybe she decides to give off a fatal frame chance. Because for some reason, it isn't 100% that she will. And yet again, we wake in the middle of the night. The camera full of musty film to develop. Still not sure why we're waking up in the middle of the night as opposed to the daytime. Maybe shows just how restless our sleeping cycle is, or maybe it's just that whole unreality of whether or not we are truly awake. But as we had to go develop that film, there is a very easily missed hidden ghost. Yeah, I'm waiting up here in this unseen window. And though it's a bit difficult to make out, that is a small boy. Possibly some other haunting spirit that previously lived in this house, or maybe something else spilling over from the manor of sleep. But I do love how wonderfully quiet the house is at night. Kind of makes you feel like anything can happen at any moment. But our first picture to develop is of that dual Buddha shrine in the ceremony room. Though from our picture we see now that there seems to be some rope, which we know was used to, I guess, suspend bodies from while they were bled out. Our next photo is of that flayed skin with the tattoo. And our final picture is from deep in the crawl space area, where we get a better look at that woman on all fours. She doesn't seem to be dressed as the rest of the other native people of the Manor of Sleep, so I do get the feeling that she might have been someone else dragged in via the curse, much like Miss Takagawa or Miku or Rei. But, you know, I'm kind of worried about Miku. We haven't seen or talked to her in a couple of days. And considering that whole ghastliness she had to just go through in her own dream, I figured it'd be a good idea to go ahead and check upon her. She oddly mentions her brother and some continuing nightmare. But that was our trigger to head into the next day. And we don't really have to do too much on this particular day, though we do have quite a few pictures that we do want to see if Miku can find out some more information about. So I'm sorry, kitty, we can't interact with you right now.
Good morning, Ray. Ray? Here.
So, Miku did some very important investigating into the lullaby that we've been hearing. And while she doesn't find anything exactly on the lullaby that we learned about, it does go into some neighboring regions and a very similar lullaby that seems to have just as ghastly meaning hidden underneath, which it goes into more here. Though first off, it goes into the fact that it does mention priestess, which seems to say it does have some ritualistic background to it. And that overall, the lullaby, as most lullabies are trying to do, is trying to make someone go to sleep. And it mentions the other side, and the fact that overall, the entire lullaby seems to have a very threatening undertone, especially when it threatens, should you fail to lie still, you will be punished. And we already have gotten some wind about what kind of punishment that the Kuzu Shrine would normally do, which, going by this same song, had something to do with impaling of the limbs. Most disheartening of all is the fact that it seems that there is a much larger threat, lest the doors open wide and others will come alive. It seems to say that if the person didn't go to sleep, something much worse might have happened.
Just let me know. It seems like you're having a lot of nightmares lately. Are you alright? Is there something?
But with all that grim information, we might as well see if she can't investigate some of these other pictures that we have been stockpiling. Yeah, the picture of Miss Takagawa, along with the commemorative carpenter photo. And from our recent jaunt, we have the flayed skin. And I think this will be the final one, which is the woman in the crawl space.
Understood. I'll let you know if I find anything.
Yep, we have very, very creepy hobbies. But, well, the day still hasn't finished, so that means we still need to do something. There's no mail waiting for us, at least not here. Oh, apparently Miku has a lot of shoes. But we haven't visited Yu's room in a while, so maybe there's something waiting for us up there. Or maybe there was something I missed on the counter. Yeah, it's another letter from Kay. He has sent us more cassette tapes to listen to. And he also talks about his journey into the Manor of Sleep, where he saw Miyu, who seemed to be looking for her sister. Also, he has a tattoo that's slowly growing, and things are going pretty much from bad to worse for everyone. But we at least get 2 new cassette tapes to listen to. So, let's go ahead and... Well, actually, we were heading to Yu's room either way, so... I think we might as well take a quick detour down there. It is sometimes hard to kind of guess whenever a picture you take may or may not trigger some new piece of information to pop up in his bookcase of infinite holding. But from that image of Buddha that we took, it does allow us to find out a little bit more about something very similar in a nearby region where we first had that daydream. Very similar Buddha statues with trace amounts of blood around it. Though there didn't seem to be any records about what actually went on with those Buddha statues. Just a lot of coincidences, I'm sure. But our first new tape to listen to is The Same Dream 2.
Yes, I don't want to sleep. Ever again. There were a lot of people in the courtyard. The people, they were tying this person up with ropes. And then they wrapped them in white cloth. They were burying them, but it looked like the one being tied up seemed to be doing it voluntarily. Afterwards, they put a big rock on them, a big log, like a skewer. There's a song. It's coming from inside the manor. Children are singing and laughing. At first, I saw my wife. I just wanted to see her one more time. I went inside. Oh, I'm so tired now. So tired. The snow.
Lots of similarities. Let's go ahead and listen to the third tape.
I can hear it. I can't make out what they're saying, but I can hear something. It's the same dream. Wait, no, it's not the same. It's different somehow. All right, I'm going further in. They're calling me. I can hear their voices. No, I can't tell what they're saying. They're just calling me. Now, it's snowing. There's a big, quiet manor. It seems like there's a funeral, and everyone's face is hidden. Wait. I'm going in deeper. It's almost suffocating. I can't breathe. I didn't do anything. She did it. No. It can't be. Help, it's not me. It's not mine.
on that happy note, with another new night upon us, I think that is a good place to call it a stopping point. So hopefully you'll join me next time for more Fatal Frame 3.